On a morning at Tang Academy, several students are at the classroom entrance, very curious, since they hear someone shouting, asking the other person to repeat what he just said. Lin Yu, a senior at the academy, wants the other student to return his sister's medicine and swears that he will regret it if he does not do what he asked. Zhang Yang, also a senior at the academy, laughs and asks if a failure with a blood essence of only 0.62 really thinks he can make him regret it. His friend calls the MC and emphasizes that Zhang Yang's blood essence is 3.5. So, Lin Yu is worse than an ordinary person, and because of that, he thinks it would be better for him to stop talking nonsense. That said, he stresses that if it were not for his talented sister, he would not even set foot in Tang Academy. Zhang Yang walks up to Lin Yu, asking if he said he wanted the medicine in his hand. Then, he drops the bottle and tells him to pick it up. The MC becomes desperate and jumps to try to catch it. However, he is too slow, and the medicine shatters completely when it falls to the floor. Lin Yu cannot believe what just happened, but Zhang Yang still does not leave him alone and grabs his shirt. Then, he throws the MC hard against a trash can. Zhang Yang steps on the MC's arm and comments that trash has to stay with trash, until he turns around after hearing someone warn that the teacher is returning to the classroom. Therefore, both Zhang Yang and his friend leave, saying it is better to leave the MC's trash in the middle of the filth. Lin Yu looks at the broken medicine on the floor and thinks that it was the supplement that kept his sister stable, and that now he will have to work twice as hard to buy another one. But, thinking about what Zhang Yang did, he becomes furious and swears that one day he will pay for what he did, until someone extends a hand to help the MC get up. It is Lin Xin, wanting to know if he is okay. After getting up, Lin Yu thanks her for helping him. She says it is fine, and that they need to return to class. However, the MC receives a call on his watch, with a guy wanting to know if he is going to skip work and why he has not arrived yet. Lin Yu runs off, saying that he is going to work immediately, which leaves Lin Xin unable to understand anything. While pedaling quickly on his bicycle, the MC thinks that in the year 4832 of the ancient century, the world changed and the population decreased. And, while humanity faced this crisis, people's bodies began to surpass their limits, awakening supernatural powers. And these people became known as warriors, receiving the utmost respect and being sent to the front line, protecting humanity. When time advanced to the first year of elevated martial arts, they discovered that not even death was an escape from pollution, since the dead transformed into irrational, bloodthirsty creatures, which are called resurrected corpses. Because of this, nowadays, the only way to deal with pollution and these resurrected corpses is, and always will be, incineration. This is the MC's job, where, after school, he goes to the crematorium to burn the bodies that arrive from the front line. As soon as he arrives at work, he quickly puts on his clothes and opens the door. Lin Yu thinks that his sister's nutrient pod is almost running out and that, because of this, he needs to gather 200,000 before the end of the month, since he has in mind that his sister has always been different from him. In the second year of high school, her blood essence had already surpassed 10,000, and she also had the ultra-rare talent of telekinesis. But, on the day of their 17th birthday, she fell into a coma for no reason at all and never woke up again. The MC knows that he was born with no talent at all, and before, it was his sister who protected him. Now, he is the one who has to take care of her. While taking another body to be cremated, he knows that he receives 20,000 per cremation, and that, with that day's payment, he can already replace the broken medicine. But if he burns 10 more bodies, he will get enough for the nutrient pod. Then, after turning on the incineration and seeing the body being cremated, Lin Yu knows that all the bodies that arrive there are contaminated. One tiny mistake, and the operator could be eliminated or become a monster as well, which is exactly why the job pays so well. But even so, almost no one wants such work, until he ends up being very surprised, since he is seeing a dark energy inside. Then, very impressed, he questions what he is seeing, since this has never happened before. But to make the situation worse, out of nowhere, the door to the cremation area opens by itself, and the strange dark energy comes out. Then, the anomaly heads toward the MC, and as it penetrates his body, he becomes very scared, wanting to know what the hell is happening. However, A few seconds later, he feels that his body is light and that it even seems to be better than ever. Then, he begins to notice some strange visions, in which a commander wants to know what Li Yang will do after he graduates. The next memory is of a general congratulating the same person for joining the recruit company of the Special Operations Brigade of the 38th Army. And in one of these visions, the guy named Li Yang was training hard, supervised by a soldier who always shouted, telling him to sweat more in peace so he would bleed less in war. So the guy kept training in everything possible, until one day, Li Yang was on the defense line, fighting against several exotic beasts that had broken through the barrier. After seeing all these memories, the MC receives a system notification informing him that the Soul Devourer is loading. He, still scared, wants to know if he really just saw the past life of a dead warrior, until he looks back after hearing that the Soul Devourer system has been activated. However, at the same time, a creature that was about to be cremated awakens. Lin Yu does not notice this, since he is trying to understand what this Soul Devourer system could be. But he soon looks back after hearing the huge creature trying to break free from the chains. The MC thinks that many strange things are happening all at once, since first he received a notification from a system screen, and then a level 1 exotic beast revived. The creature becomes impatient and charges forward. Lin Yu steps back and tries to defend himself from the exotic beast's attempts to bite him, while it, even though it is chained, tries at all costs to bite the MC. At that moment, the system informs him that the soul memories of the warrior Li Yang have been analyzed. Now, the MC needs to choose one of the abilities below to cultivate. The first option is Immortal Will. The second is Basic Military Arts. And finally, Elevated Ambition. Lin Yu, having great difficulty holding back the exotic beast, chooses the second option. However, one of the chains ends up breaking because of the creature's strength. While becoming more worried, the MC is notified that he should use combat to increase the skill's proficiency. Then, another chain breaks. With that, the creature uses its sharp claws to try to hit the MC, but he manages to jump back to avoid being caught. As soon as he creates distance, the MC reflects that, apparently, it seems like a wave of power has invaded his body and that his vision has also changed, since he can see the jackal dog's movements. It, in turn, charges forward again. But Lin Yu dodges another attack and thinks that the attack came very close to hitting him, until he realizes that the movements he is making are the military arts from the memories of that Li Yang. The jackal dog comes at the MC again, but this time, he watches the attack carefully. Then, he counterattacks with a precise knee strike to the creature, which is thrown away. Lin Yu, surprised by what he just did, questions when he became so strong and whether it was the work of the Soul Devourer system, until he ends up being informed that the progress of basic military arts is at 10%. With that, his physical ability is increased by 10%, and the enemy's weak points are revealed. The MC looks at his body and thinks that he cannot believe it, since he thinks it is something that even defies the heavens. However, he wants to understand why this happened and whether it was because of that strange light from before. Then, as he approaches the fallen body of the jackal dog, the MC is notified that a body has been detected nearby and is available for soul devouring. Lin Yu concludes that since there is a creature's corpse there, it is better to test it and see what happens. But before doing that, he decides to store the ashes of the warrior Li Yang, whom he cremated. And as soon as he does that, he looks at the container holding the ashes, thanks the warrior for lending him his abilities, and wishes him to rest in peace. Then he returns to the jackal dog and thinks that this happened while he was cremating the body last time. And when he places his hand on the creature, he feels energy going straight into his body. After all the energy leaves the jackal dog and enters his body, the MC is overcome by the same fury the creature had shown. Then, he begins to feel a severe headache, and soon after, he starts seeing the jackal dog's memories, in which the exotic beast was feeding on several warriors from the front line. Lin Yu falls to his knees on the ground and, completely shaken, questions whether those were really the jackal dog's memories before the creature was eliminated. Besides, he never imagined that the warriors at the border dealt with as many monsters every day as he saw in the memories. At that moment, the system informs him that the soul memories of the exotic beast have been loaded, and, like last time, the MC needs to choose an ability to cultivate. those being the sharp claws ability, the devouring technique, and chaotic consciousness. Lin Yu concludes that the point of light that appeared during the cremation only served as a trigger to activate the Soul-Devourer system. With that, he thinks this means that whenever he touches a corpse, he will devour it and access its soul memories, but he questions which ability he should choose. After all, he thinks that if this so-called devouring technique literally means going around eating people, that is completely out of the question. So, he ends up deciding to choose the sharp claws ability, which he had just witnessed the jackal dog using. And as soon as he chooses this ability, his arm begins to undergo a transformation until it has the huge sharp claws of the creature whose soul he devoured. Lin Yu gets excited and thinks that now he can have offensive power, since the sharp claws increase the attack power of his hands by 5% and cause cutting damage. However, the MC is notified that the Soul Devourer ability has entered cooldown and will be available again after 12 hours. Lin Yu sits on the floor and thinks that he first needs to understand this system better. A few minutes later, the MC remembers that the system had said using abilities in combat increases proficiency, but he wonders if, with the absorption option, it is possible to absorb the same ability to accumulate progress. But apparently, he will need to test that later, until he realizes that the system itself also has a level. So, he concludes that even the system can evolve, but it just does not explain how to do that. Lin Yu stands up and thinks it is better to focus on what he can understand for now, and, afterward, discover a way to evolve the system. But, as he feels power flowing throughout his entire body, he thinks that these military arts are very practical in combat, and that, because of this, he will use this time to increase his proficiency in them. Therefore, he thinks about the memory of the warrior Li Yang training and then applies it. And, while he continues practicing, he reflects that the movements become much more complicated toward the end, since an ordinary student would not even be able to execute what he just did. But, because he inherited Li Yang's memories, even though it is difficult, his body reacts as if it had already trained this thousands of times, until he realizes that the clothes he is wearing are getting in the way. So, he takes them off and thinks that these military arts are much more difficult than the school's body tempering art, since he only did one sequence and is already completely worn out. But, on the other hand, his blood essence became denser and flows better. Therefore, the MC decides to train one more time, since he still has time. After that, the next day, Lin Yu wakes up startled after being called by the teacher several times. And, while the students laugh at him, the teacher wants to know if the MC's parents sent him to school just to sleep. Besides, there are only 2 months left until the admission exam, and with his blood essence, he will not get into college. So, she wants to know if he is perhaps thinking of working in manual labor construction. Lin Yu apologizes to the teacher and swears that he will not do it again. A few minutes later, the teacher ends the class and wonders why the student Lin Yu does not work as hard as the other students. The MC thinks that he got so carried away training the previous day that he ended up staying up the entire night without sleeping. And, even so, his proficiency only rose to 11%, which is far too slow. Then he reflects that it seems real fighting is much more efficient for evolving, but he still wants to see how this so-called absorption function works. At that moment, Zhao Lei goes over to the MC and says that, since he will never become a warrior in the end, he wants to know why he does not just give up already and go beg with his vegetative sister. However, he ends up becoming intrigued when he notices that the MC seems like a completely different person, until Lin Xin appears, telling Zhao Lei to get lost. He makes it clear that what he is doing is none of her business, and that she needs to cool her head somewhere else. Lin Yu takes Lin Xin's hand and calls her to leave, because he thinks that if they stay near mediocre people, they will end up becoming the same way. She is surprised by the MC's attitude and wonders why Lin Yu seems more imposing, and even his body looks better and bigger. However, Zhao Lei shouts, saying that the MC is just afraid of getting beaten and is pretending to seem brave so he can come out on top. Lin Yu immediately stops walking, turns around, and says that since Zhao Lei wants to get beaten so badly, he suggests they settle this in the martial arts room. The surrounding students start laughing and saying that Zhao Lei has a blood essence of 2.7 and is at the pseudo-warrior level. Besides, Even the academy gave him special training. The MC comments that it will only be a friendly fight and that each of them will bear the consequences. Zhao Lei laughs, agrees with Lin Yu's idea, but makes it clear that he was the one who wanted this. With that, several students start running toward the fight location and comment to each other that they heard two seniors are going to have a duel in the martial arts room. Meanwhile, Zhao Lei and the MC are already prepared for battle. Zhao Lei's friend comments that his blood essence is much higher than the MC's, so he thinks Zhao Lei will finish him off with just a single punch. Zhao Lei makes it clear to the MC that since Zhang Yang is not there, he will take his place and teach the MC a lesson. That said, he thinks he will use the high blood essence combat training that the academy gave him to test his skills on trash like the MC and make it very clear who is in charge there. Lin Yu calls Zhao Lei a show-off bootlicker and tells him to come at him already. Zhao Lei wastes no more time and charges forward to try to land a punch right in the middle of the MC's face. Lin Xin and the others get worried and shout the MC's name, but he easily grabs Zhao Lei's fist and with a completely intimidating look, makes it clear that he had said he would make Zhao Lei and Zhang Yang regret what they did. Zhao Lei gets scared, wondering how the MC easily blocked his attack, since he has in mind that trash with 0.62 blood essence should not be able to do that. Then, Lin Yu forcefully pulls Zhao Lei's arm down and lands a tremendous knee strike right in the middle of his chin. After that, he throws a powerful punch to his face and breaks several teeth in Zhao Lei's mouth. And, because of the strong impact, the guy is thrown hard against the building wall. Zhao Lei tries to get up and ends up realizing that several of his teeth were broken. Lin Yu walks up to him and makes it clear that if he dares to insult his sister again, it will not be just a few teeth that go flying. That said, the MC picks up his bag and leaves. Zhao Lei notices a blade beside him and, after picking it up, runs after the MC, telling him to go to hell. Lin Yu looks back and before Zhao Lei can hit him with the blade, easily breaks it with his sharp claw skill. Zhao Lei falls sitting on the ground, terrified after seeing the MC's arm. Lin Yu, with a piercing look, wants to know if Zhao Lei still wants to continue. The surrounding students cannot understand anything that just happened and wonder how the MC's hand suddenly turned into a sharp claw out of nowhere. Lin Yu picks up his bag again and walks away. Zhao Lei, with his face completely swollen from getting beaten up, shouts for the MC to watch himself, because Zhang Yang will find out and will not let this slide. Lin Yu comments that he will be waiting for that day. A few hours later, the MC goes to his job. While changing clothes, he thinks that the 12-hour cooldown time of the Soul-Devourer skill has already ended, so he knows he can absorb new skills. And, as he passes by a guy, he wonders what he will get this time. However, the guy approaches him and asks if the MC, by any chance, does not know how to greet him when he sees him. That said, he walks away saying that young people nowadays have no manners anymore. Besides, the MC only got the job because of him, and he does not even know how to be grateful. Lin Yu thinks that his boss only hired him because he could not find anyone else, and that, if it were not for the pay, he would not even set foot there. The MC's boss also says that a huge batch of bodies arrived that day, and that they need to be cremated, and he does not want any slacking off at work. So, Lin Yu goes to where the bodies are, and thinks that, apparently, the number of warrior bodies arriving there is increasing, since, in the memories of that jackal dog he absorbed the previous day, he saw scenes of the border defenses being breached. So he wonders if the border is in danger. However, he ends up concluding that this cannot be true, since if it were, it would already be all over the news. But either way, he needs to get stronger as quickly as possible. And, before trying to devour another soul, he apologizes for what he is about to do. Then, he touches the warrior with his hand and begins to devour his soul. While absorbing it, he notices that the warrior's uniform there looks a lot like Li Yang's, and that maybe he can achieve another breakthrough in his martial arts. After completing the process, the Soul-Devourer system informs him that the memories of the soul of the warrior Wang Muyuan have been analyzed, and that now, the MC needs to choose one skill from the list below to cultivate. They are martial arts, insignia of the contaminated unit, and courage to die fighting. Without thinking twice, Lin Yu chooses martial arts. With that, he wants to see if this shows how the proficiency increase method through absorption works. So, the MC asks the system to display his personal status. Now, martial arts are at level 2, with 10% progress. The effects: increases base physical ability by 20% and reveals the opponent's weak points. When an enemy initiates an attack, the MC will be able to predict the trajectory 0.5 seconds in advance. He gets excited upon learning this and concludes that absorbing the same skill really increases its level. Then, he considers that, at this pace, it will not take long to max everything out. However, the MC is shocked to hear the Soul-Devourer system entering cooldown again, and that it will only be available 12 hours from now. Lin Yu takes a deep breath and thinks that this is true, since the ultimate move has a cooldown and cannot be used continuously. So, he knows it is better to finish his work first and then continue increasing his proficiency in martial arts. Meanwhile, at the front line of the border, the warriors are being carried on stretchers, and one guy asks the other to be careful, because the cervical vertebra of the warrior they are carrying is completely broken and is only held together by skin and muscle, and, because of that, they cannot pull with force. However, at the same time that the warriors are being carried away, the exotic beasts are placed in several large trucks, and, after the loading is complete, a guy knocks on the truck door and tells the driver that the truck is already full and he can proceed. So the truck continues on its way, but when it passes over a hole in the road, the truck shakes a lot, and inside the truck bed where several bodies of exotic beasts are, a creature awakens. After that, already on the next day, some students are surrounding Lin Xin, who in turn becomes worried. Zhang Yang comments that he will ask her one last time to arrange for Lin Yu to meet him on the field after class, but he emphasizes that he will not beat him up, since he only wants him to kneel and apologize to Zhao Lei. Then, they will end the matter. However, he becomes serious and makes it clear that if Lin Xin does not do what he is asking, she will not leave there. Lin Xin shouts, saying that she has already said several times that she will not do what he is asking, since Zhao Lei was the one who started the fight. This makes Zhao Lei furious, wondering why Zhang Yang wants to waste time with her, because when he was beaten by the MC the previous day, she was laughing at his face. Lin Xin, upon hearing this, shouts that he is lying and makes it clear that she did absolutely nothing. However, one of Zhang Yang's friends forcibly takes her book, and, while Lin Xin asks him to give the book back, the guy wants to know if, by any chance, the book is for that useless Lin Yu. Then, Zhao Lei grabs her shoulder with all his strength and tells her to shut up and stay quiet. The guy with the book in his hand, upon opening it, realizes that it contains important notes, detailed solutions, and other things. So, he comments that, apparently, she worked really hard and emphasizes that all of this is a pity and that it does not matter how much she helps a failure, since he will always continue being useless. That said, he completely tears up the notebook. Lin Xin tries to run to stop the guy from tearing more. However, Zhao Lei holds her back and comments that this is for her to learn not to meddle where she is not wanted, but he wants to know if she now understands what happens when she helps the wrong person. Zhang Yang approaches, asking Zhao Lei to let her go, and asks if, by any chance, she is going to cry just because of a shitty notebook. Then, he grabs her chin and comments that being with him is much better than walking around with the trash MC. Lin Xin tells Zhang Yang to get lost and bites his finger. He gets furious and slaps her in the face. Zhao Lei comments that his friend did very well, since she had the nerve to bite him, and that shows she does not respect him at all. Lin Xin, seeing what her notebook has become, thinks that she spent half a month preparing the notes for Lin Yu. But even so, she jumps forward to try to recover what is left, and thinks that she will not let them destroy the rest. Zhang Yang comments that, apparently, she really does not know when to stop. Then, he grabs her by the neck and throws her hard against the wall. After that, he says that this is the difference between their blood essence levels, since his strength and speed are the best in the academy, and that trying to resist will only make her get beaten even more. But when he realizes that Lin Xin is going to try to use her hands to break free, he drops her to the ground and comments that since she likes using her hands so much, he will teach her a lesson. Then, he asks his friends to attack her and emphasizes that If she happens to get badly injured, he will take responsibility. So, the first guy rushes forward to throw a punch and says that what will happen to her is the fate of anyone who crosses Zhang Yang's path. However, Lin Yu appears and grabs the guy's arm. Then, with an unfriendly look, he wants to know if they have no shame, since there are 4 of them attacking a girl. Lin Xin comments that everything is fine, but she wants both of them to leave so they do not cause any more conflict with Zhang Yang. Lin Yu squeezes the guy's fist even harder and makes him tremble all over in pain. Zhang Yang comments that the MC has finally appeared and that he has saved him the trouble of going after him. Lin Yu picks up the torn pages of the notebook and makes it clear that he will treat them like dogs barking for nothing, since they tore up the notes. Zhang Yang comments that, for trash, the MC sure talks nicely. At that moment, Lin Yu punches Zhang Yang right in the middle of the face, and then shouts that he will never forgive them for what they did to Lin Xin. Zhang Yang is thrown backward, and the MC, while releasing his power, emphasizes that he will make Zhang Yang pay 10 times over for the humiliation his friends suffered. The students around them want to know if, by any chance, the MC has gone crazy, and if he really has the courage to talk to Zhang Yang like that. Zhao Lei gets nervous and shouts for his friend to beat the MC until he understands who is in charge. Zhang Yang begins to use his skill and comments that he never noticed the MC had so much courage. But finishing him off there would be too little. So he takes a paper from his pocket and, after throwing it on the ground, says that in 3 days they will have a public duel in the central training arena. And if the MC wins, he will apologize, pay for the damages, and never touch him or Lin Xin again. The paper on the ground is a registration form for a public duel at Qingtung Academy. However, Zhang Yang makes it clear that if the MC loses, he will kneel in front of the entire academy, admit that he is a failure, and drop out of school. Lin Yu hears the other students saying that Zhang Yang apparently wants to finish him off. Lin Xin grabs her friend's arm and asks him not to accept the duel, because his sister still needs his help. The MC's other friends also ask him not to accept, since dropping out of school is no joke. Besides, Zhang Yang's blood essence is 3.5, while his does not even reach 1, making the difference far too great. Zhao Lei shouts, saying that if Lin Yu is afraid, he just needs to kneel and knock his head on the ground 3 times, and maybe Zhang Yang will show mercy. However, the MC picks up the dual registration form from the ground and says that he will accept, but that he has one demand. The entire duel must be recorded and publicly displayed. That said, he signs his name and then throws the form. Zhang Yang picks up the paper and laughs. The MC leaves, saying that it is not just about 3 days from now, because he wants everyone to clearly see forever who the real trash is. After that, later, at the MC's job, he is with his boss and another guy. However, he is thinking that he needs to refine his military martial arts, or absorb as many new skills as possible over the next 3 days. And that, no matter what happens, he has to win the duel against Zhang Yang. Then the MC's boss informs him that that day's batch arrived from crematorium number 1, since they were unable to process everything. Lin Yu is intrigued when he hears this, and asks if crematorium number 1 is not the place that deals with the bodies of much stronger exotic beasts. The big guy comments that so many bodies arriving like that only proves how efficient their crematorium is, and that this is all thanks to Supervisor Wang's leadership. He, in turn, comments that the big guy learns quickly, and that his blood essence value is the highest there, and because of that, he should keep it up, and he will not disappoint him. That said, the supervisor comments to the MC that he has been standing there for half an hour. Then he wants to know if he wants to lose his salary. Lin Yu replies that he is already going, and thinks that this guy changes moods faster than someone turns a page. A few minutes later, in incineration room number 7, one of the employees is surprised, commenting that it is no wonder so many exotic beast bodies appeared all at once, and that, from the looks of it, they will need to work overtime to handle the batch that arrived. However, one of the creatures that was inside the batch of exotic beasts jumps out and attacks. The guy is completely shocked when he sees what happened to his fingers, and when he looks back, he notices a huge creature about to attack him. A few minutes later, the exotic beast defeats the guy and carries him to another room, and as soon as it passes through the door, it closes. Meanwhile, in incineration room number 6, the MC is intrigued when he hears a strange noise and thinks that, if he is not mistaken, what he heard was the sound of someone screaming. But since it is far too quiet, he thinks that maybe he was mistaken and that it is better to go back and focus on work. Then he goes over to the unloaded batch and wonders if, that day, there are only exotic beast bodies to incinerate. So he knows that from the looks of it, he will not be able to refine his martial arts. But on the other hand, if the casualties on the front line are decreasing, that is already a good sign. Then, when he looks at the tail of one of the exotic beasts, he wonders if it had been that color moments earlier. At that moment, the color of the tail begins to change. Lin Yu, seeing this, really wants to know why the color of those scales is changing like that. Then, out of nowhere, the huge creature gets up and lets out a loud, piercing roar. The MC is startled, but he has to move to the side to avoid being hit by the creature's charge. It, in turn, backs away and begins to disappear. Lin Yu, losing sight of the creature, wonders what the hell is going on, so he prepares himself and thinks that, first, the creature crawled over to the bodies, then disguised itself as decomposing flesh, and now it has simply disappeared. Then he wonders if more creatures infiltrated using this method, because if that happened, he knows that if he does nothing, that place will turn into hell on Earth. So he closes his eyes and begins to concentrate all his senses and rely on his martial arts perception to find the creature's weak point. A few seconds later, as the exotic beast slowly walks through the place, it ends up making a noise, and the MC hears it and discovers where it is. Then he grabs a tool from the table and throws it in the direction where he heard the creature make the noise. Lin Yu hits the exotic beast directly, and it stops being invisible. However, it becomes even more furious and leaps to attack the MC. He is grazed, but he manages to drive his sharp claws skill into the creature's shoulder. But as soon as he pulls his arm out of the creature, he remembers the wound it caused and becomes worried, thinking that he cannot let it contaminate him. But luckily, his level 2 military martial arts helped him predict the trajectory of the attack. And, after observing it more closely, he concludes that it was only a superficial scratch. At that moment, they are warned that stealthy illusion-scaled beasts have been detected in rooms 3, 7, 14, and 15. And because of that, everyone must immediately evacuate to the central safe shelter and await military rescue. Lin Yu, upon learning this, concludes that there really are more beasts that infiltrated the place. And, as he leaves the room to go to the central shelter, he looks from side to side to see if there are any more exotic beasts roaming the corridors, and realizes that he does not sense any supernatural power fluctuations. However, after walking a little farther ahead, he becomes quite startled, since he sees one of the employees completely defeated and thinks that, from the looks of it, the screams he heard earlier were his. Lin Yu continues walking slowly, wondering how many of these beasts infiltrated the place. Then, when he looks to the side, he sees his boss and other employees running desperately, trying to escape from the exotic beasts chasing them. The MC does not think twice and throws a tool, which hits one of the creatures directly. With that, he manages to buy time for everyone to keep running, and as soon as they approach the central shelter, one of the employees opens the door and shouts, telling everyone to hurry. However, the exotic beasts start running after them again, and the MC runs toward the shelter room, thinking that since he still does not have the confidence to face so many monsters at once, he knows it is better to reach the safe zone and wait for rescue. But his boss pushes him back and shouts, telling him to stay behind and cover the others, since that is the only thing trash like him is good for. Lin Yu, while calling the others a bunch of idiots, looks back and sees the creature rapidly approaching. He kicks the creature and thinks that their aura camouflage is so good that if a person loses focus for even a second, they can no longer detect anything. Then he starts running again, trying to reach the shelter, but his boss tells them to lock the door immediately. Lin Yu starts shouting desperately, asking them to wait, but just as he gets very close to the door, it is slammed shut, leaving him outside. The MC can still hear his boss from inside, telling the others not to worry about him, since he will simply be one less dead weight. Lin Yu starts shouting, asking them to open the door right away, but while he punches the door several times, one of the creatures gets very close to him. He looks back and sees a huge creature accompanied by several smaller ones. Then he reflects that the others will not open the door no matter what, and that standing there thinking about running away will not solve anything. The only alternative left is to fight. Then he thinks that the soldiers on the front line face things far worse than the creatures there, and even so, they keep fighting. And since he inherited their abilities, he cannot afford to disappoint them. Besides, his sister is still waiting for him, and for that very reason, he cannot be eliminated there. So the MC charges at one of the creatures and says that he will start with it. The exotic beast, in turn, finds it strange that the human is charging at it, but decides to try to camouflage itself. Lin Yu thinks that now that his proficiency in real combat military martial arts has increased, if he concentrates all his energy, he believes he can sense the creature's fluctuations. Then, as he concentrates, he notices a focal point of energy and quickly concludes that its weak point must be right there. So he activates his sharp claws skill and strikes the focal point of the creature's fluctuation. However, the MC notices another one coming toward him, so he moves his arm and throws the creature he was holding at the other one. Both exotic beasts are thrown far away, but the MC does not stay still and leaps toward them, landing a direct blow on one of their heads. Lin Yu thinks that now there are only 2 creatures left, but when he looks to the side, he realizes that they have disappeared. Then, while trying to locate them, he thinks that the 2 remaining ones are much stronger and that he may not be able to sense their fluctuations at all. But he knows they are still there, and because of that, he cannot let his guard down, so he closes his eyes and tries to calm himself, since he knows there has to be some kind of opening. Lin Yu continues concentrating until he hears a few drops of blood dripping onto the floor, and, upon sensing a slight fluctuation, he looks to the side and thinks that he found them. Then, he charges at one of the creatures and strikes it directly with his sharp claws. But he soon senses that there is something very large behind his back. However, there is no time to defend himself, and his arm ends up being wounded by a surprise attack. He observes his arm carefully and thinks that, from the looks of it, his left hand is already almost useless. And when he looks ahead, he sees the exotic beast camouflaging itself again, but he knows he will not let it escape. And a few minutes later, he notices more drops of blood dripping onto the floor, and when he looks up, sees the creature heading toward him. Lin Yu laughs, prepares himself, and tells the creature that he deliberately let its claws get stained with his blood. That said, he waits for the creature to get closer and then leaps at it, cutting it in half with his sharp claws. Both fall to the ground, but the MC tries to stand up and thinks that he cannot pass out at that moment because he still needs to escape from there. However, he ends up collapsing to the ground because of exhaustion, and a few seconds later, the creature's fluctuation energy begins to come out and goes into the MC's body while he is still unconscious. After that, 1 hour later, the rescue team arrives and says they are 30 meters from the shelter. However, one guy notices something and says there is suspicious monster movement up ahead, so he wants everyone to stay on maximum alert. One of the rescue members is very surprised, since he sees the MC in the middle of several defeated exotic beasts, and immediately wants to know if the kid could have done all of this alone. At that moment, the person in charge of the place opens the shelter door and shouts, wanting to know if the rescue team has already eliminated all the monsters. The leader of the rescue squad gives the signal, warning that the area is safe for now, but wants everyone to keep their guard up. Then, he asks Team 1 to rescue the survivors, and Team 2 to examine the entire surrounding area. After that, he observes the wounds caused on the creatures, and says that, judging by the tears, they are all irregular, as well as completely disorganized. So, he thinks such wounds do not seem to have been made by ordinary weapons. Then, he becomes intrigued when he hears one of the rescue members say that the boy lying among the monsters is still alive. Meanwhile, the MC's boss notices something strange about him and shouts, asking everyone to look at his hand. The rescue members see that the boy's arm has transformed and is releasing a strange dark energy. Therefore, everyone gets ready and warns the captain that the boy has been contaminated. And, since he is still unconscious, they think they need to finish him off, because if he wakes up in that state, he will turn into a monster. However, the the captain of the rescue group shouts, asking everyone to wait and look at the boy's hand again, because it is returning to normal. The person in charge of the place does not like this, and shouts, wanting to know if the rescue captain has gone crazy, because he fears that if the MC wakes up, he will eliminate everyone without mercy, since he has in mind that the MC cannot stay alive, because if he talks, they will find out that he tried to have the boy eliminated. At that moment, the rescue captain places his blade against the MC's boss's neck and tells him to shut the fuck up. That said, he emphasizes that from the signs he witnessed and from the flesh and scales stuck under the boy's nails, it is clear that he was the one who eliminated the 4 illusory scale beasts. One of the rescue team members points out that not even their entire team would have an easy time against 4 of those beasts at the same time. So, he really wants to know how a simple boy did all of this alone. The crematorium chief shouts, warning that the MC's blood essence is only 0.68, and that, without contamination, he wants to know how he could have done this. The rescue captain grabs the MC's arm and, while observing it, wonders if the boy is one of those legendary prodigies, since he supposedly eliminated 4 illusory scale beasts alone with only 0.68 blood essence. Therefore, he explains to the person responsible for the place that true contamination does not reverse, and that the boy has already returned to normal. So, he thinks they do not need to be in such a hurry. Worried about the situation he is in, the MC's boss points out that he is only thinking about everyone's safety. The squad captain informs him that, unfortunately, they are short on personnel at the moment and need people who know how to fight, so they will take the MC into custody. After that, the next day, at the hospital, Lin Yu begins to wake up after hearing a noise. Then, he suddenly sits up, wanting to know how he ended up in a hospital. The rescue captain asks him to stay calm and emphasizes that he is safe. Lin Yu becomes serious and immediately wants to know who the guy is. He says his name is Chen Zhen, and that he is the captain of the pollution cleanup team in that district, and that he was responsible for leading the rescue at the MC's workplace. Then, he says he is there to apologize, since the monster invasion from the previous night was the responsibility of their group, and since they did not arrive in time to help, and the MC ended up in danger, he is very sorry about that. Lin Yu says it was something very sudden, and that there was no way to avoid it. Chen Zhen says that the MC took down 4 illusory scale beasts by himself, and one of them was elite level. Because of that, he helped their group a lot. That said, he wants to know if he would like to become a warrior and join them. Lin Yu is surprised by the invitation, but wants to know if he will be able to make it to the end. The captain is intrigued and says that most people would think twice, but that he got excited right away. So, he wants to know if the boy has any reason for wanting to become a warrior. The MC says he has already seen too many monsters and dead people who sacrificed themselves and ended up in the crematorium, besides the fact that the number of eliminated warriors only increases with each passing day. So, he would rather fight to protect his family than stand still and wait to be killed too. Chen Zhen pats the boy on the shoulder and says he thinks that is great, but before that, he emphasizes that he needs to pass the warrior selection test. He says that and thinks that this boy does not only have strength, since he is willing to sacrifice himself for his family, being someone with true potential. However, Lin Yu gets a little discouraged and says that the test requires a blood essence of at least 3.0, and his is far below that. Then Chen Zhen hands him a paper, which says that he is officially recommending Lin Yu to participate in the warrior selection test. Chen Zhen informs the MC that the test will begin 1 month from now, and that he hopes the boy will be prepared. That said, he closes the door and leaves. Lin Yu takes the recommendation very excitedly and thinks that if he becomes a warrior, he will have access to the best treatments, and that maybe there is still a way to cure his sister. At that moment, the Soul-Devouring System announces that the memories of the elite-level illusory scale beast soul have been analyzed. Then, it asks the MC to choose one ability from the list below to cultivate, namely, Scale Armor Defense, Claw Strengthening, and Aura Camouflage. However, Lin Yu is intrigued, wondering which one he should choose. Then, he starts to remember that the scale armor is resistant and reduces damage, but Claw Strengthening increases his attack power even more. On the other hand, there is Aura Camouflage, since he has in mind that If it were not for the drops of blood, the elite level aura camouflage would have been perfect. Therefore, he chooses aura camouflage. With that, the system informs him that the duration of aura camouflage is affected by the host's stamina. Then, it explains that the MC can completely hide his own aura and blend into the environment. However, after observing his new ability more carefully, Lin Yu thinks it is still not perfect, and that, apparently, it seems he will need to practice much more. With that in mind, he decides to check how his abilities are doing and concludes that, since he cannot devour souls for now, he will focus on improving the abilities he already has. Besides, he ended up gaining another trump card for next week's duel against Zhang Yang. 2 days later, after recovering and leaving the hospital, the MC goes into the middle of a forest and thinks that aura camouflage is not just about hiding, since it is about becoming part of the environment itself. Then, he is a little disappointed when he sees that he cannot even fool a simple bird. So, he reflects that he needs to control his energy like a true monster. And, as soon as he sits down and concentrates, he soon realizes that the range and level of concealment are increasing. So, he knows he needs to keep doing it the way he is. After that, and already on the next day, Lin Yu goes in front of a mirror and uses his aura camouflage ability. He gets excited and thinks that half of his body has already become invisible, but that the other half is still missing. Then the system informs him that the proficiency of level 1 aura camouflage has increased by 5%. With that, Lin Yu manages to completely conceal his body. Then, he looks at the notebook his friend made, thinks about Zhang Yang, and swears that he will show him who the real failure is. A few days later, at the Qingtang Academy training field, Zhao Lei tells Zhang Yang that it is the first time he will see a public duel and that Lin Yu will not just be expelled, he will embarrass himself in front of everyone, since a failure with 0.68 blood essence would have no way of facing someone like his friend. In the stands, Lin Xin is worried about the MC because he took leave over the past few days, and because of that, she hopes nothing happened. Zhao Lei calls out to Zhang Yang and says that the trap in the arena has already been prepared and that, on that day, the MC will not leave there in one piece. Zhang Yang jumps and, upon entering the arena, releases his power, then wants to know where the MC failure is, or if he ended up getting scared at the last moment. The people in the audience laugh and say that the boy who will face Zhang Yang really does not know his place and that, because of that, he will end up being expelled from the school. At that moment, the arena door starts to open, and Lin Yu walks through it, goes up the arena stairs, but notices that the color of the floor near the arena seems a little strange. And as soon as the MC steps up, Zhang Yang says that the failure finally appeared, because he thought he had regretted facing him. Lin Yu laughs and points out that Zhang Yang should be the one thinking about how he will kneel and apologize. This makes him furious, and he charges forward, saying that the MC talks too much. Lin Yu dodges the attack, but the punch ends up grazing his face. Zhang Yang says he wants to see how long the MC can keep dodging. That said, he begins throwing several consecutive punches. Zhao Lei, seeing this, gets excited and shouts for his friend to keep going and finish off that MC failure once and for all. Then, after being pushed back, Lin Yu ends up stepping on one of the strangely colored tiles. Zhang Yang prepares another punch and says that now the MC has nowhere left to run. Then, he releases his flame ability, throws his flaming punch, and shouts that the MC had better be ready to be expelled from the academy. However, Lin Yu laughs and says that this was the moment he was waiting for. Because of that, Zhang Yang becomes very confused when he sees that his punch passed through the MC and immediately wants to know what kind of ability he used. Lin Xin, upon seeing this, gets excited and thinks that, apparently, her friend had been hiding a trump card up his sleeve. Zhang Yang gets even more nervous, and, when he turns around, wants to know if the MC thinks he can beat him using cheap tricks. Then, he shouts for him to show himself and stop hiding. However, he ends up taking a direct hit to the back and, after checking whether his ability is still active, makes it clear to the MC that he will eliminate him without mercy. That said, he asks Zhao Lei to activate the trap to force the MC to appear. After the trap is activated, several electrified bars rise around the arena and are then completely surrounded by flames. With that, Zhang Yang shouts that now he wants to see how far the MC failure can run. Then, at the top of the stands, a woman shouts for them to stop the fight, since this goes completely against the rules of the duel. But Zhang Yang makes it clear that he is the one who makes the rules there. Then, Lin Yu approaches him, and he gets excited when he sees that he has finally found the little rat that was hiding. Because of that, he throws a powerful punch, but the MC manages to dodge at the last second. Lin Yu reflects that, apparently, there is no point in clashing head-on with brute force, since he first needs to find the weak point and break through it all at once. Zhang Yang activates his body armor ability and charges forward again. The MC realizes that his opponent's energy is circulating throughout his entire body, as well as armor completely covering him. So, he knows he really needs to find the source and cut off that flow. Then, by observing him more carefully, he ends up discovering exactly where Zhang Yang's core is. Zhang Yang, in turn, tries to land his tremendous punch, but the MC activates his aura camouflage and dodges the attack. Zhang Yang gets nervous when he sees that the MC has disappeared again and shouts, calling him trash, saying that he only knows how to use those cheap tricks. Lin Yu does not care at all and charges forward with his sharp claws ability, hitting him directly. However, he is surprised, wanting to know how his sharp claws did not pierce Zhang Yang's armor. Zhang Yang, in turn, laughs and makes it clear that his defense is A-level and that, apparently, the MC has gone crazy thinking that his dirty little claws could hurt him. Lin Yu quickly creates some distance and thinks that apparently it seems he will have to find another opening, but he still wants to see how far that armor can hold out. Then, he reflects that if he managed to leave a mark on it, it means the armor's damage absorption has a limit, and if sharp claws do not work, he will counterattack with impact strikes from his martial arts. Meanwhile, Zhang Yang knows he needs to stay calm and simply observe the MC, since he will definitely find a flaw in him. Then, Lin Yu jumps toward him with aura camouflage active and lands a tremendous punch in the middle of his chest. But Zhang Yang laughs and asks if the MC did not eat, since his punch is too weak. That said, he tries to land a counterattack, but Lin Yu manages to dodge. However, Zhang Yang notices a certain fluctuation of energy and says he thinks he has found the MC's weak point. The MC, in turn, tries another attack on Zhang Yang, but this time, while he retaliates with a precise kick, he says that he had already said his defense is A-level and that no matter how the MC attacks, it will always be useless. Lin Yu is thrown back, but asks Zhang Yang to try to hit him again, and as soon as he tries to throw a punch, the MC dodges at the last second and counterattacks with a punch to the middle of the armor. With that, he realizes that he managed to cause some cracks in the armor and that maybe, with a few more blows to the same spot, he will be able to break it completely. However, Zhang Yang, upon noticing the MC's intention, grabs his wrist and says that his little dirty claws are useless now. Lin Yu keeps in mind that as long as he withstands the blow he is about to receive, as predicted by his martial arts, he thinks everything will be fine. Therefore, while Zhang Yang holds one of the MC's arms with his other hand, he lands a tremendous punch right in the middle of his face. However, Lin Yu was already waiting for this and counterattacks with an even stronger punch in the middle of the armor. Zhang Yang realizes that the blow was so powerful that his defense is collapsing from the impact. Then, he says that the MC is only good for stealth and sneak attacks, and that it is no wonder his blood essence is only 0.68, since cowards like him are not fit to be warriors. While slowly walking forward, Lin Yu releases his power and makes it clear that from that moment on, he will not use stealth or sneak attacks. That said, he activates his sharp claws and emphasizes that he will settle this with a single blow. Zhang Yang wants to know if the MC was beaten so much that he ended up becoming stupid, because earlier, not even his claws could scratch his armor. Lin Yu charges forward, wanting to know how he will know if he does not try. Zhang Yang gets up and says that the final kick he is about to unleash will send the MC out of the academy. That said, he charges toward Lin Yu. Lin Yu, in turn, thinks that Zhang Yang put all his killing intent into the kick, and that it is a good thing his martial arts predicted it. Therefore, the MC dodges his opponent's kick and drives his sharp claws right into the core of the armor. But Lin Yu wants to know if Zhang Yang really thought he would not be able to read his movements. He does not like this at all, but soon becomes very worried when he sees his armor falling apart. And seconds later, the ability is completely destroyed. Zhang Yang falls to the ground on his knees, wanting to know how he ended up losing to trash like the MC. Lin Yu approaches and makes it clear that Zhang Yang is not that great either. This leaves him even more frustrated, but soon after, he completely collapses to the ground. The people in the audience are very surprised, wanting to know if what they just saw really happened, since a guy with 0.68 blood essence defeated someone much stronger. Meanwhile, Zhao Lei is frozen, unable to believe that his friend lost. Lin Xin, excited by the MC's victory, thinks that she always knew he would win the duel. Zhang Jianguo, a member of the Qingtang Academy Council and Zhang Yang's father, thinks his son has embarrassed him because he cannot believe he lost to a failure. Li Minyu, the dean of Qingtang Academy, tells Zhang Jianguo that what just happened is his responsibility, since the MC's movements were not taught by the academy and his body became deformed. So, he does not know what kind of dirty trick he used. However, he emphasizes that he will thoroughly investigate this during next week's physical examination and give an answer. Zhang Yang's father thinks this is great because breaking the academy's rules comes at a price. The dean asks him not to worry, as he will provide a satisfactory result. However, Zhang Jianguo becomes serious and, looking at the MC, comments that if he wants to blame someone, he should blame himself for being ignorant, since there are people he simply cannot afford to offend. Meanwhile, Lin Yu is leaving the arena when he notices something vibrating in his pants pocket. He takes out the watch and sees that it is a message from Captain Chen, informing him that, from that day on, the MC will work part-time at crematorium number 1, but he should be aware that they deal with higher-risk beast corpses and remains there. So the boy needs to be prepared and be very careful. Lin Yu keeps in mind that crematorium number 1 is the highest level crematorium, and, besides the pay being better, he will also be able to come into contact with stronger souls and obtain more powerful abilities. But since it is still early, the MC decides to visit his sister at the hospital first. 1 hour later, at the city center hospital, Lin Yu goes to the room where his sister is being kept. He watches her and stays like that for a few minutes. After that, the MC begins to remember when he was younger, and several children would always laugh at him and call him a useless failure. However, his sister would always appear and intimidate everyone. She also made it clear that if they kept bad-mouthing her brother, she would beat them all up. Afterward, she told the MC not to listen to the others, because no matter what happened, she always thought he was the best. After remembering this, Lin Yu thinks that his sister has always protected him since they were children, so he knows that no matter what happens, he will find a way to cure her. Then the MC hears someone calling him and saying that they need to talk about his sister's condition. Lin Yu sees that it is the doctor and asks him to speak. The doctor says that the MC knows his sister's condition was caused by eating contaminated food, and at the moment, the nutrient pod can only maintain her basic vital signs. However, the pollution has intensified drastically recently and has already invaded her internal organs. And if this continues, he fears that at this rate, his sister has at most 6 months to live. Lin Yu is completely shocked and shouts, wanting to know how it suddenly became so serious if they had always controlled it with medicine. The doctor explains that, according to the hospital's analysis, the MC's sister may have developed resistance after taking the medication for too long. Desperate, Lin Yu wants to know if there is no other way, because if it means saving his sister, he will try anything. The doctor replies that there is a way, but for now, it is not realistic. Lin Yu does not think twice and immediately asks the doctor to speak. He says that if they have the Sunstone, which is capable of suppressing the pollution, he thinks they may be able to prevent the MC's sister's condition from worsening. However, the Sunstone is a national treasure and is not distributed easily. Then, the doctor emphasizes that when the MC's sister, who was a key talent under national observation, fell into a coma, the government did not even use it. So, in her current state, he thinks it is even less likely that they will do so now. Lin Yu looks at his sister and comments that it is no exaggeration to say that her unparalleled aptitude suppressed an entire generation. So, he wants to know why the hell the government did not intervene to save her back then. However, he makes it clear that the reason does not matter. Whether with the Sunstone or another method, he will never give up trying to help her. After that, later, at crematorium number 1, Lin Yu arrives at room number 3. He thinks that since the Sunstone is connected to the country's government, he needs to hurry up and become a warrior. And as soon as he sees some bodies ahead, he wonders if the situation on the front line has gotten worse, because there are no exotic beasts, only remains, including even those of the medical team. Then, Lin Yu lowers his head and asks the veterans for permission. However, behind the MC, one of the bodies gets up and heads toward him. Lin Yu, hearing a strange noise, immediately turns around to see what it is, and he ends up surprised when he realizes that it is a resurrected corpse, which then charges straight at the MC. Lin Yu waits for the creature to get a little closer and then dodges at the last second. And, as he creates distance, he wonders if the warrior in front of him really came back to life. The corpse looks at the MC and starts making a very strange sound. Lin Yu becomes worried and reflects that it is indeed a frontline warrior who was contaminated. However, he keeps in mind that this is a warrior who sacrificed himself for the country, someone who fought on the front line until the very last moment. At that moment, the resurrected corpse charges forward again, and the MC has to use one of his arms to defend himself from the creature's attack. Then, he notices that the corpse is using military martial arts. However, he knows that a contaminated human has no consciousness, and that the corpse in front of him is only acting through muscle memory. Besides that, its attack patterns are fixed. So, in return, its weak points are fixed too. And, most likely, the next blow will be a straight right punch, advancing with an unbalanced stance. The corpse does exactly as the MC had predicted. Because of this, Lin Yu manages to dodge easily and then counterattacks with a precise roundhouse kick. And after the creature loses its balance, the MC takes advantage of the corpse's exposed back and lands an elbow strike to the back of its neck. Because of the strong impact, the resurrected warrior is thrown hard into the wall. Lin Yu apologizes to the veteran of war, but the revived warrior begins to get up and then becomes even more furious, releasing much more power. The MC immediately jumps backward, trying to understand what the hell is happening. The creature undergoes a transformation and becomes something even more bizarre. Lin Yu, seeing this, wonders how the revived corpse completely transformed into a monster. Then, it unleashes a powerful blow against the MC, who is forced to defend himself however he can. Lin Yu is thrown backward and realizes that the corpse's strength and speed are on another level now. And, seeing it coming at him again, he dodges the attack and prepares to land a direct blow to the middle of its body. However, a huge mouth with sharp teeth appears in the middle of the corpse and tries to bite the MC, but he manages to dodge. However, he ends up taking a blow from one of the revived corpse's arms and is thrown hard against the wall. Lin Yu tries to stand up and thinks that it was not just its appearance that changed, since even the creature's attack patterns have completely become those of a monster. Then, he remembers warrior Li Wang fighting bravely and asking everyone to protect the country. So, he knows that he saw with his own eyes what it means to be a true warrior, and that the reason he was not fighting with everything he had was because deep down, he still saw the monster in front of him as a warrior. However, he stands up and concludes that he knows very well that becoming a bizarre monster was never the warrior's will. Therefore, he thinks of the veteran of war and swears that he will free him. And, after observing the opponent for a few seconds, he realizes that the creature's weak point is its heart. With that in mind, Lin Yu charges forward with everything he has, activates the sharp claws ability, and asks the veteran to rest in peace. Having said that, he lands his sharp claws directly in the monster's heart, and the monster, in turn, feels the powerful blow it received and collapses to the ground. With that, the Soul-Devourer system congratulates the MC and informs him that his military arts have been upgraded to level 3. Lin Yu looks at the monster's body lying on the ground and comments that if the creature still had human consciousness, he thinks he definitely would not have stood a chance against it. However, a strange energy begins to come out of the hole in its chest caused by the MC's attack, and then from all over the monster's body. Lin Yu immediately covers his nose and thinks it is contamination. So, he runs to the door, but soon remembers that it only opens if it is confirmed from both sides. Then he reflects that human contamination and corruption are irreversible. Because of this, he knows that if he stays there, he will end up infected and become a monster too. But the contamination heads toward him, and he closes his eyes and holds his breath to try not to be contaminated. Until, a few seconds later, Lin Yu opens his eyes and, as he observes his body, wonders why he was not contaminated. However, when he looks to the side, he is very surprised because he sees the contamination going straight toward a body. Lin Yu steps back and wonders if it is another corpse that is going to be resurrected. But when he sees that nothing happened, he becomes intrigued by it. So, he decides to go over to the body to see if everything is all right and sees that there is no sign of movement. Then he is surprised to see a pendant on the body shining brightly and absorbing the contamination. Lin Yu wonders if the pendant can really devour contamination. Then, he starts remembering what the doctor had said, in which the MC knew that his sister's illness was caused by contaminated food, and that, at that moment, the nutrient pod could only maintain her basic vital signs. But if they could obtain the Sunstone, which is capable of suppressing contamination, perhaps they could prevent the MC's sister's condition from worsening. But the Sunstone was a national treasure and was not something distributed easily. Therefore, Lin Yu carefully observes the necklace and wonders if what he is seeing could be the Sunstone the doctor had mentioned. Then, without thinking twice, he takes the pendant and, extremely happy, thinks that now his sister can finally be saved. After that, the MC takes the bodies to be cremated, and as soon as the bodies begin to be incinerated, Lin Yu thinks of the veterans and feels grateful, since because of them, the front line is being protected, and he ended up obtaining the Sunstone. However, a dark energy begins to come out of the body that had the pendant and heads toward the MC. After entering his body, he begins to see the memories of the veteran who had the necklace, where the veteran was receiving the information that he had been accepted into Huaxia Central Medical University. In the next memory, young Junlong was dissatisfied with the medicines available on the market, since they were far too ineffective, because he wanted to develop more efficient medicines for warriors. Then, young Junlong was receiving a notice from his master, in which he would be his last student and, in the future, would inherit the legacy and become the dean. However, the veteran had to go to the front line, since he needed to develop more useful medicines for warriors based on the real needs of the battlefield. Until one day, young Junlong and his group were completely surrounded by exotic beasts, and one of the warriors wanted to know if he had any medicine that would help them fight until the end. Junlong had said that he had developed a new medicine called Watchman, and that no matter what state the person was in, after taking it, they would return to their peak. However, he made it clear that the medicine's side effect was that the user who took it would suddenly die in 10 minutes. However, the frontline warriors did not care at all, and after taking that medicine, they made it clear that they, the sons of Huaxia, did not fear fighting to the death, since they were willing to use those 10 minutes to protect Huaxia's peace, even if only for a moment. Because of this, young Junlong witnessed the warriors charging at the creatures with everything they had after taking the medicine. With that, he quickly began taking some notes, in which, based on the reaction of all the warriors after taking the medicine, he believed that this formula could still be optimized. But before he could finish reporting it, he ended up being caught by one of the exotic beasts. Lin Yu, after seeing all of the veterans' memories, is very surprised, especially because he still had time to see, in one of the notes, the name of another medicine, which is the Vitality Enchantress, which, after drinking it, injects a massive amount of vitality into the body. At that moment, the Soul-Devouring System asks the MC to select an ability from the list below to cultivate, which are Medical Mastery, Light as a Feather, and Benevolent Heart. Lin Yu does not think twice and immediately selects the Medical Mastery ability. With that, the system congratulates him and informs him that he has obtained the passive ability of expert-level medical mastery, and that actively learning it will grant 3 formulas, which are the Ascending Dragon, Watchman, and Vitality Enchantress. Therefore, the MC sits on the floor and, as he concentrates, reflects that with the pendant he obtained and the medical knowledge he gained, he will definitely be able to cure his sister. After that, and already on the next day, Lin Yu goes to the hospital and sees that his sister's contamination level is already at 75%. He becomes very worried, because since the last time he was there, The contamination has advanced quite a lot. With that in mind, the MC deactivates his sister's incubation, and as he picks up the sunstone, he thinks that there is no time to waste. So, he places the stone necklace around his sister's neck, but he sees that the contamination level is still at 75%. Then, he concludes that he cannot rush things, because maybe it only needs some time to take effect. A few minutes later, the contamination level remains the same, and after an hour, there is no change at all. Lin Yu looks at his sister and, extremely worried, wonders if the stone is also useless or if it is perhaps fake. Then, he decides to incubate her again and thinks that either the pendant is too slow or the contamination inside his sister is already so deep that the necklace cannot take effect. However, he concludes that either way, he needs to find a way to develop the Vitality Enchantress formula he obtained as quickly as possible. After that, and already the next day at Qingtang Academy, while some students chat with one another, the MC remains focused, reading a book. He reflects that his priority at the moment is to test whether the medicine formulas he received actually work, since he knows the Watcher formula has far too many side effects. So he thinks that, because of that, he will set it aside for now. Besides that, the ingredients for the Vitality Enchanting formula are all located in highly contaminated zones. And, finally, the Ascending Dragon formula is the simplest one, but it is missing the most important ingredient. However, he knows the problem is that some of those contaminated zones are heavily guarded by the military, so getting in there is practically impossible. With that in mind, the MC closes the book and decides to think about it later. Then Lin Xin appears, wanting to know why he has seemed so distracted lately. After all, a new cafe opened near the school bus stop, so she wants to know if he wants to stop by after class to take a look and chat for a bit. He replies that this time, he cannot, because he has something very important to do later. She makes it clear that if he is having any trouble, he can call her at any time, because she will do everything she can to help him. That said, she emphasizes that since he saved her before, the least she can do is repay that favor. Then one of the students nearby says that he heard military vehicles were seen heading toward their school the night before. The other student wants to know what he means and whether something serious happened. Lin Yu keeps in mind that the army normally does not show up in residential areas, so he wonders if there is some new information he still does not know about. Lin Xin feels a little awkward and comments that, from the looks of it, she probably will not be able to hide what she knows for much longer. The MC gets curious and immediately wants to know what she knows. Lin Xin is reluctant to say anything, but she moves closer to her friend and whispers in his ear that her father's patrol team was called the night before to help the military reinforce security. Then she says that the abandoned urban area north of the school, near the border, may officially be declared a contaminated zone. Lin Yu is surprised to hear this, and comments that the place used to be only an alert zone, so he wants to know why it changed so suddenly. Lin Xin explains that she heard a crystal-armored python was spotted nesting there, and the contamination levels went out of control overnight. The MC is intrigued when he hears about the crystal-armored python, since he keeps in mind that the red crystal grass that grows when the creature's venom contaminates the soil is exactly the ingredient he needs for the Ascending Dragon formula. Lin Xin makes it clear to her friend that what she just told him needs to remain an extreme secret for now, and that, no matter what happens, he must not tell anyone. Lin Yu replies that he understands and asks his friend to relax, but he thinks that maybe the area has not been completely sealed off yet. Because of that, he decides he will go there at night to check it out. A few hours later, already at the place Lin Xin mentioned, the MC is hidden, watching the soldiers' movements. Then he notices that the searchlight has a double blind spot of half a second every 14 seconds, and the patrol team completes its circuit every half hour. With that in mind, Lin Yu activates his aura camouflage skill and passes through the searchlight beams easily. After that, he jumps and goes over the fence. One of the patrol soldiers hears a strange noise and turns around to see what it is, but ends up seeing nothing. The other soldier notices his partner acting suspicious and immediately asks if something happened. He replies that it was nothing and that maybe he is just too nervous because he feels like there is something behind them. As for the MC, after getting past the fence, he thinks that the infiltration was successful. Then, without further delay, he advances into the middle of the contaminated area. Then, after walking a little, He realizes that he has finally reached where he wanted to be, since in front of him is the enormous python, and, beside it, some red crystal grass. As Lin Yu slowly approaches, he thinks it is better to harvest the grass right away while the enormous creature is still sleeping. Little by little, the MC walks slowly so as not to draw the python's attention. Then, when he gets close to the red crystal grass, the enormous serpent wakes up and looks directly at the MC. He, in turn, thinks that something seems wrong. Then, thanks to his military arts attack prediction skill, he manages to dodge the serpent's attack at the last second. However, the python becomes even more furious and moves quickly to completely destroy the human who dared to wake it from its sleep.